Hey, welcome to Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth with Brian Butler. And I'm your new podcast host. Well, maybe not be new to hosting, but I'm new to this one. And my name is Doug Turnbull, and joined here by the CEO and Senior Wealth Advisor of Wealth Standard Financial in Houston, Texas. And that is you, sir, Brian Butler. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Doug. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, thank you. And thank you for having me on and allowing me to be a part of this journey here, this great battery of podcasts that you've whipped up very much indeed here about different sectors of planning for retirement and managing wealth. You can find all of this, by the way, on wealthstandardfinancial.com. Just click on the tab that has all of these. And, of course, wherever you find it on Apple, Spotify, your podcatchers, like and share, subscribe, and share these episodes with people. If you've liked what you heard before, Brian and I are going to try to find a new gear. See, I'm more of a motorsports guy, Brian. I love NASCAR, all right? You're on the chef side. So if I say grab a gear or, make faster pace or something like that, that might be different parlance than when you're talking about sauteing and simmering, for instance, which was our last episode, which I loved, by the way. You and Jeff worked on it, sauteing versus simmering, active versus passive investments. So go back and listen to that episode from in August. But, Brian, before we move forward, just because it's a new voice here bugging in people's ears, here's who I am. I'm from a major market just like you. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, 20 years in Atlanta as a traffic reporter, and I'm still a columnist about traffic in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. But I flew in a traffic helicopter, looked at traffic jams, and quite literally saw the obstacles in the way that kept people from a smooth ride home. And I would encourage people when I did this job, plan. Like before you leave on your 30-minute commute, which, by the way, I have a 30-minute commute now, sometimes 45 minutes, know what's ahead of you so you don't just drive right into the buzzsaw, right? And I think that is a large part, Brian, of what you're trying to encourage people to do in this gig. So I have hosting and radio experience in the past, but we both have told our clientele over the years to plan. So, Brian, thank you for allowing me to be part of this because I want to help people out still, and so do you. And we are in a specific season. It's like another sport in the United States of America, and it's politics. We got election season every 2 years, and then every 4 years of presidential, it's even bigger. And we're going to dig in today, Brian, on specifically how one party or the other could impact your retirement, but really, how do you take whatever the outcome is and try to leverage the best results?
No, absolutely. And when it comes to politics, we deal with this question a lot, being in Texas, of course. And in Houston, we have a lot of Democrats, we have a lot of Republicans, and a lot of independents. So our client base reflects that. And so a lot of times people ask, well, how are you able to handle Republican clients? How are you able to handle Democratic clients? Because I always tell them, during your retirement, the likelihood that you're going to deal with one party at a given time and another party at another time, you have to be able to navigate that and take your emotions out. Because I guarantee, one of the few guarantees I can give, I guarantee your money doesn't care.
Your money doesn't care who's in charge.
So what we have to do is, and the reason why we love these recipe topics in cooking is because you have to figure out the right recipe for who's in office. So you have some political risk that you're dealing with, whether it be Democrat or Republican in office. You have market risk. You have risk when it comes to policy. And a lot of times when it comes to retirement, policy is what really affects us day to day. And so understanding what things you have to have in place for your retirement, depending on the rules that are changing. Our job is to help you navigate that. And so at no time in human history have you had access to more information than you do now. Now, just because you have access to that information, how do you put it all together? It's just like a recipe. When you go to the grocery store, you have access to everything in that grocery store. And if you pick two different people, they may come out dramatically different to fit their taste. And that's what politics is. And so when you have those policies in place, how do you navigate the retirement, putting your portfolios together, your income distribution plans, and especially the tax environment? How do you put all of that together? And that's where we help put it all together for clients. And that's the things that they need to focus on.
Is there anything when somebody comes into your office, and I'm not singling anybody out, and they go in and they're like, oh man, if so-and-so wins, do you have a certain thing? And look, I mean, I know there's more than two candidates in the race.
Right.
It's two main candidates, all right? It's Donald Trump and it's Kamala Harris. Are there certain strategies that change based upon who's in office, or are you trying to coach people, hey, no matter who it is, you're making a long play here? So can you break down if there are different strategies or not, and if so, in a general sense, what those are?
In general, when you're dealing with the two major parties, one party wants to give tax cuts, one party typically will raise taxes, and that's a very simplistic view of it. And so whoever comes into the office, you just have to pay attention, especially to the tax environment. Now, when it comes to the stock market is a different animal. The stock market is supply and demand. Is what you have in demand, forget who's in office, is the shaving cream that you buy when you go to the grocery store, or gas prices going up, cereal, meat. That's supply and demand. How much do you want it versus the market, and how much is the supply? So when you're paying attention to things like that, I tell people when Obama got into office, we heard a lot of political noise, how the market was going to crash, how everything was going down. Market went up. When Donald Trump got in office, we heard some of the same thing. Market went up. Joe Biden, market went up. So trying to guess when the market's going to go up based on who's in office has continuously been a losing proposition for people. When you can take the emotion out and just understand people are trying to make money in the market no matter who's in office. They don't say there's a Democrat in office, I no longer want to make money the next 4 years. That's never happened.
I'm gonna tank all this for 4 years. That'll show them.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's never happened, and I don't think it ever will, because our system truly is a capitalistic democracy. And so when you're looking at the opportunities that are out there, how do you build the right recipe for yourself and your family based on what you want? So when you make that focus inward, that's when you can really start doing some detailed planning and keeping the focus on what you truly want. Then we can get going.
Change always starts at home, right? That's the big thing. If you get mad about everybody else's deal, whatever the deals are, whether it's the neighbors making noise or whether it's Washington making noise, okay? The change starts at home. It's how your habits and what do you want? How does it affect your life? You know, a lot of people worry about the top of the ticket when the bottom of the ticket has more effect on your everyday life. Not that the top doesn't matter. Now, one thing we can't promise anybody, the market, there are times it goes down. And so that I think somebody could hear this the wrong way, Brian, and say, oh, he's saying that no matter what I do, the market's good. No,
right.
we're not using the G word, okay? We're not doing that, but it's more about taking the emotion out, right?
100%, because we don't know what the market's going to do. No financial advisor on the planet knows tomorrow whether the market's going to go up or down. We just don't know. We look at probabilities. And so you look at the probabilities that the market is going to go up, market's going to go down. And then how do we measure the amount of risk that you want in your portfolio? Just like you measure the amount of sugar or the amount of salt in a recipe, what's the amount of risk that you want in your portfolio? Then we try to build a portfolio that can kind of take that into account. Now, will that be perfect? Absolutely not. Will things happen that you never saw coming, like COVID or a war? Anything like that, we just don't know what's going to happen. Everything we do is a probability. So we want to give you the best chance we can put together for you based around what you actually want. So that's when we're really detailing everything out. So imagine going to a restaurant and everything they do is catered to you and what you want. So that's their menu. That might be a hard restaurant to go to because you might not know what you want. So really figuring it out, having someone guide you to the things that you really want, and then building a great recipe for retirement that you are comfortable with are some of the things that we enjoy. And especially during this political season, the stress that people are under because they are inundated with nonstop political news. And I don't think it's positive. How often do you hear positive political news? It's very rare that it's very positive.
Fear sells, right? I mean, that's
100%.
just the deal. Making sure that tension is up for people. That's how that's just what it is. I was in the news business a long time and still am to a certain extent. And there's just no doubt that we don't get everybody all excited about sunny days and no controversy. That's, there's always something. So that leads me to really what's going to be my final main question here. And that is, I've heard a sentiment just since I've started studying this stuff and talking to great people like you, Brian, senior wealth advisor, right? That the market, no matter what the result is, often behaves in a certain way after a big election is decided. Is that right?
Well, it has been the last few times, but there have been other times when the market's gone up and other times when the market's gone down. And so predicting it just based on history is very, very difficult because each candidate brings different things to the table. Some people are happy about certain things, unhappy about others. But the market, just depending on what's going on at that particular time, and especially with technology moves the market a lot because it's in every aspect of our lives. And because technology changes so fast, we don't know what the market's going to do. And so trying to predict it is one of the biggest wastes of time. So you wait and see and have a security plan either way. You want to have a plan if the market goes up, and you want to have a plan for if the market goes down. And when you have those plans in place, your expectations are set. You're trying to remove the emotion. I say trying. It's difficult, but you're
if you're hungry, if you're cooking and you're hungry, you're like trying to work faster. Maybe, I've listened to some of the past episodes. You're trying to get something quick done in the Instapot instead of doing the all-day roast, right? I get it. But in this case, in the end, when you're talking about retirement, you are making the longer play. Granted, people have different amounts of time they live, but you are making the longer play. And I think that's why you want to scrub out the emotion, right?
100%, because time in the market is one of the highest predictors of success. Now, it won't guarantee success, but the time you have in the market, the allocations you have, the different products that are out there. Because if you're fearful of the market, there are ways for you to protect yourself on the downside while still giving you some upside. If you want guaranteed lifetime income because you don't have a pension, there are things that are out there. If you're worried about long-term care, there are options for you. And if you're just one of those people that believes in the stock market and wants to just grow, well, that's your recipe for your retirement. And so just understanding the risks that are involved there, the benefits that you're getting is what we try to do as financial planners is really focus on that for you. And that's one of the main differences. When you spend time with clients and you really start talking to them about what they want, the people they want to protect, you really start to get an understanding of what they want, and you can just take it from there.
And that is how, indeed, we try to make the tastiest dish despite the ingredients here. And certainly a lot of people have been upset with the ingredients lately, whether they should be or not. And that's what Wealth Standard Financial does. So, Brian, you've been great and just trying to guide us through that. And I know we're going to have a lot more to talk about between now and November. And although this is supposed to be evergreen, folks, like you could listen to this probably before any election or at any time during the year. It's about taking that emotion out and trying to make the best of it. So any final words from you, Brian, before we take this thing, we'll turn the lights off in the kitchen, I guess.
Well, I'm excited for this political season because you're going to get some clarity either way. And so if I want people to take that away from it, you're going to get clarity either way. So then you can take some actions for your retirement recipe. So I'm excited to help.
Questions get answered usually at the ballot box. We hope anyway, in the beginning of November. No way to predict that, too, the way people throw things up in the air sometimes. So, again, go to wealthstandardfinancial.com and book something or look at past episodes. Brian and his team would love to help you out and just answer some questions because a lot of people, if you're on the cusp of retirement right now, you've got to have somebody to help guide you through this a little bit and give you some insight. And that's certainly what Brian and the Wealth Standard Financial team could do. Well, Brian, thank you for making time today to tell people about this. And I know we look forward to doing more.
Hey, Doug, I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So again, that is the Retirement Chef, Brian Butler. And this is the Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth with Brian Butler. We will be back very soon with another episode. Thank you for joining in.
The opinions voiced in The Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth with Brian Butler, are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial, or tax advisor prior to investing. Guests on The Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth are not affiliated with CWM LLC. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.